David Reed checked his daughter's coat one more time. The fabric shimmered under the strange purple lights of the Galactic Council station. Lucy smiled up at him, her missing front tooth making her look even younger than her 8 years. "Dad, I'm fine," she said, pulling away gently. "You checked it 3 times already." Around them, beings from dozens of worlds moved through the corridor. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated or slithered or moved in ways that hurt to watch. Lucy pressed her face against the viewing window, watching a ship dock in the distance. David had not wanted to bring her here. The council station orbited a planet called Haven, far from Earth. But his wife was away on Mars for work, and the school break meant Lucy had nowhere else to go. The diplomatic reception was supposed to be safe. Just drinks and polite conversation with alien ambassadors. "Stay close to me," David said. "No wandering off." I know. Lucy skipped ahead, her shoes making soft sounds on the metal floor. The reception hall doors opened with a hiss. Inside, the room stretched up toward a domed ceiling that showed the stars outside. Floating platforms held food and drinks from different worlds. Some of the food moved on its own. Lucy stopped and stared. Ambassador Toril stood near the entrance. His scales were dark green and his eyes were yellow with black slits. He came from a planet called Scalos, where everyone looked like walking reptiles. When he saw David, his mouth opened to show many sharp teeth. David had learned this was a smile. "Ambassador Reed," Toril said. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "You brought your offspring. My daughter Lucy." David put his hand on her shoulder. "I hope that's acceptable. Offspring are rare at these events." Toril looked down at Lucy. "Human children are small." "I'm not that small," Lucy said. "I'm tall for my age." Toril's eyes widened slightly. David knew that surprised look. Most species did not let their children speak to adults so freely. But Lucy had never been shy. Ambassador Nira approached from the left. She was tall and thin, with 4 arms and eyes that looked like purple gemstones. Her species came from a place called Hive Cluster 7. They all thought together, somehow sharing their minds. "The human has brought a juvenile," Nira said. Her voice sounded like several people talking at once. "How unusual." "Lucy wanted to see the station," David explained. "We do not bring our young to diplomatic functions," Nira said. "They are kept in the nursery chambers until they are fully developed." Lucy tugged on David's sleeve. "What's a nursery chamber?" "I'll explain later," David whispered. The room filled with more ambassadors. David recognized some from previous meetings. Others were new to him. They all kept glancing at Lucy. Human children were still strange to most of the galaxy. Humans had only joined the Galactic Council 5 years ago. Many species still did not understand them. A loud chime rang through the hall. Everyone stopped talking. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a creature made of light, the council's spokesperson. "Honored guests," the hologram said. "Tonight we gathered to discuss peace with the Starfire dragons." Whispers spread through the crowd. David felt his chest tighten. The dragons. He had read about them in the briefing files. Ancient beings who controlled 3 entire sectors of space. They had destroyed ships, ignored all attempts at contact, and killed anyone who entered their territory without permission. "The dragons were invited to this reception," the hologram continued. "We do not expect them to attend. But the invitation shows our commitment to peace." Toril moved closer to David. "This is foolish," he said quietly. "The dragons cannot be reasoned with. They are monsters. Have you ever met one?" Lucy asked. Toril looked down at her. "No one has met one and lived to speak of it. Not in 500 years. Then how do you know they're monsters?" Lucy tilted her head. David squeezed her shoulder. "Lucy, not now." Nira's 4 arms crossed over her chest. The child asked dangerous questions. "The dragons destroyed a council fleet 2 months ago. 12 ships, 3,000 lives. They entered dragon territory without permission," another ambassador said. "The rules were clear." "There should be no territory that is forbidden," Toril argued. "The galaxy belongs to all species." The debate continued. David had heard it all before. The Galactic Council was divided. Some wanted to make peace with the dragons. Others wanted to build weapons strong enough to challenge them. A few wanted to simply avoid dragon space forever. Lucy wandered toward the food platforms. David followed, keeping her in sight. She pointed at something that looked like blue jelly but moved like it was breathing. "Can I try that?" "Absolutely not," she laughed and moved to the next platform. David relaxed slightly. Maybe this would be a normal, boring evening after all. They would stay for an hour, make polite conversation, and then return to their quarters. The temperature in the room suddenly increased. David felt sweat on his forehead. Other ambassadors noticed too. They looked around, confused. Then the air in the center of the hall began to shimmer. David's blood went cold. He grabbed Lucy's hand. "Get behind me now," but Lucy did not move. She stared at the shimmering air with wide eyes. "Dad," she whispered, "something's coming." The shimmer grew brighter. Lucy squeezed her father's hand but did not look away. Around the hall, ambassadors backed toward the walls. Some ran for the exits. Others stood frozen in place. Security Chief Kren barked orders into his communicator. He was built like a bear, covered in gray fur. His species came from a heavy gravity world, and he was strong enough to bend metal. But even he looked scared. "All guests move to the safe zones," Kren shouted. "Activate emergency barriers." Blue energy fields appeared throughout the room, creating protective walls. David pulled Lucy behind one. Through the transparent barrier, they could still see the center of the hall. The shimmer exploded into flame. But the flame did not burn anything. It simply hung in the air, twisting and turning. Then it began to take shape. First came the head. It was enormous, the size of a small vehicle. Scales covered it, each one looking like a piece of metal that had been heated until it glowed. 2 horns curved back from the skull. Eyes opened, burning orange like small suns. The neck followed, long and powerful. Then the body materialized, 40 feet from nose to tail. 4 legs ended in claws that could tear through steel. Wings folded against the creature's back, each one marked with patterns that looked like flowing lava. A starfire dragon stood in the reception hall. The room was completely silent. Even the ambassadors who had been shouting stopped making any sound. Lucy pressed against the barrier, her nose almost touching it. "It's beautiful," she whispered. David could not speak. He had seen pictures of dragons in the files, but they had not prepared him for this. The creature radiated heat that made the air ripple. Power rolled off it in waves that David could feel in his bones. The dragon's head turned slowly, taking in the room. Its eyes passed over the hiding ambassadors. Some of them made small sounds of fear. Then the dragon spoke. Its voice was deep, like thunder rolling across mountains. The translator devices everyone wore crackled to life. "I am Ember," the dragon said, "matriarch of the Starfire clan. I accept your invitation." Toril stood behind a barrier near the back. His whole body shook. "Impossible," he said. "They never respond. They never come." Nira's 4 arms wrapped around herself. "We should not have invited them. This is a mistake." Ember's head turned toward where they spoke. Her eyes narrowed. "You invite me, then call it a mistake? Your species confuses me." Kren stepped forward, though he stayed behind his barrier. "Great Ember, we are honored by your presence. We did not expect— You invited me expecting I would not come." Ember's tail swished back and forth. "Every species in this room wanted to appear peaceful while hoping I would stay away. I can smell your fear." Lucy pulled away from her father. Before David could grab her, she ducked under the barrier. It was set too high, meant to stop adults. She slipped through easily. "Lucy, no!" David reached for her, but the barrier blocked him. He slammed his fists against it. "Lucy, get back here." She did not listen. She walked toward the dragon, her small shoes clicking on the floor. Every eye in the room watched her. Several ambassadors gasped. Toril covered his eyes with his clawed hands. Ember lowered her massive head. Her burning eyes focused on the small human child walking toward her. Smoke drifted from her nostrils. "Child," Ember said, "you are not afraid." Lucy stopped a few feet away. She had to tilt her head all the way back to look at the dragon's face. "Should I be?" "Every other creature here fears me." "They don't know you," Lucy said simply. "I don't know you either, but you're really pretty. Your scales look like my mom's necklace when the sun hits it." Ember's eyes widened. For a moment, the dragon did not move. Then she lowered her head even more, bringing it down to Lucy's level. Lucy could have reached out and touched it. "Pretty," Ember repeated. The word sounded strange in her thunderous voice. "No one has called me pretty before." "Well, you are." Lucy took a step closer. "Are you lonely?" "You look lonely." The room held its breath. David pressed against the barrier so hard it began to beep a warning. Kren had his hand on a weapon, though everyone knew weapons would not stop a dragon. Ember stared at Lucy. Her eyes, ancient and filled with intelligence, studied the child. A sound came from the dragon's throat, low and rumbling. 5,000 years I have lived, Ember said, and you are the first to ask if I am lonely. Is that a yes? It is. Ember's voice grew quieter. My kind withdrew from the galaxy long ago. We were hunted, betrayed, used. We learned that other species saw us only as weapons or obstacles, never as people. Lucy reached up and put her small hand on the dragon's snout. Ember went very still. The heat radiating from her skin should have burned Lucy, but somehow it did not. It felt warm, like standing in the sun on a summer day. I'm sorry they were mean to you, Lucy said. Then she stood on her tiptoes and kissed the dragon's scaled nose. Toril and Nira both froze. Their bodies locked up completely. Their species' response to overwhelming shock. Several other ambassadors fell down. David's legs went weak. A pulse of heat washed through the room. But it did not hurt. It felt like a wave of warm air, carrying with it something else, an emotion. Joy mixed with surprise, mixed with something that felt like crying and laughing at the same time. Ember raised her head. Her eyes were brighter now. She looked at Lucy, then at the assembled ambassadors, then back at Lucy. Curious creatures, these humans, Ember said. Tell me, small one, what is your name? Lucy Reed. Lucy Reed. Ember seemed to taste the name. You have given me something I have not received in longer than your entire species has existed. What's that? Kindness without expectation. Connection without calculation. Ember's wings rustled. I came here tonight to see if the council was worth my time. I have my answer now. The dragon turned to address the room. I will speak with your council, but I will speak through this child and her people. The humans are the only ones who approached me as a person rather than a problem. Then Ember looked back at Lucy and lowered her voice. Would you like to fly with me sometime, Lucy Reed? Lucy's face lit up. Really, can I, Dad? David still could not make words come out. He nodded weakly. Then it is settled. Ember began to fade, her form turning back into flame and shimmer. We will speak again soon. The dragon vanished, leaving only warm air and the smell of smoke. Lucy walked back to her father. The barrier dropped, and David grabbed her in a hug so tight she squeaked. Around them, the ambassadors slowly began to move again. And everything changed. The emergency council chamber was smaller than the reception hall. Plain metal walls surrounded a circular table with seats for 20 representatives. Only half the seats were filled. The meeting had been called so quickly that many ambassadors could not arrive in time. David sat with Lucy beside him. She swung her legs under the chair, still too short to reach the floor. Her eyes wandered around the room, taking in all the different aliens. David's hands shook. He clasped them together and tried to look calm. Council Elder Bryn entered through the main door. He was old even by his species standards. His skin was like tree bark, rough and deeply lined. He moved slowly, supported by a walking staff that hummed with energy. His people came from Verdant 3, a world covered entirely in forests. We will begin, Bryn said. His voice was patient, like a grandfather speaking to grandchildren. What happened tonight has no precedent in recorded history. A hologram appeared above the table. It showed Ember materializing in the reception hall. Then it showed Lucy walking toward her. Then the kiss. Toril shifted in his seat. His scales had lost some of their color. The human child approached the dragon without authorization. This could have resulted in disaster, but it did not, Nira said. Her purple eyes were fixed on the hologram. The dragon responded positively. We did not anticipate this. No one could have anticipated this, another ambassador added. Dragons do not respond to anyone. Bryn tapped his staff on the floor. Let us hear from Ambassador Reed and from his daughter. David cleared his throat. I apologize for Lucy's actions. She's 8 years old. She didn't understand the danger. Did you understand the danger, child? Bryn asked Lucy directly. Lucy thought about it. Dad was scared. Everyone was scared. But Ember didn't seem mean. She seemed sad. Sad? Toril leaned forward. You believed the dragon was sad? Yeah. Her eyes looked how I feel when I'm at a new school and nobody wants to play with me. Silence filled the room. The ambassadors looked at each other. Some seemed confused. Others looked like they were thinking hard. Dr. Hayes spoke up from the corner. She was a human xenopsychologist, one of the first to study alien minds. May I offer an observation? Bryn nodded. What Lucy did goes against every diplomatic protocol we have, Dr. Hayes said. But it worked. And I think I know why. She pulled up data on her tablet. Every species at that reception approached the situation through a specific lens. Ambassador Toral's people see the world through threat assessment. Ambassador Nira's people process things through collective calculation. But humans, especially human children, have a different approach. Which is, Bryn asked, empathy, connection. Lucy saw a living being and wondered if it was lonely. That's not a strategic thought. It's an emotional one. The hologram shifted. Now it showed Ember's face when Lucy asked if she was lonely. The dragon's expression was clear, even to species who did not normally read dragon emotions. Surprise, pain, recognition. The dragon said something important. Dr. Hayes continued. She said, "You are the first to ask if I am lonely." 5,000 years and no one asked about her feelings. They only thought about what she could do for them or to them. Toral's tail twitched. We consider emotions a weakness in negotiations. Facts enforce matter. Feelings do not. And that's why your species never made contact with the dragons, Dr. Hayes said gently. You were trying to negotiate with beings who read emotional intent. A new hologram appeared. This time it showed Ember clearly, hovering in the air. Her voice filled the chamber. I have been listening to your discussion, Ember said. Your technology allows me to observe from my ship. I wish to clarify some things. Every ambassador sat up straighter. Bryn bowed his head. Great Ember, we are honored. My kind withdrew from galactic affairs centuries ago, Ember began. It was not because we are monsters, as some of you believe. It was because every species we met wanted something from us. Our fire to power their weapons, our strength to fight their wars, our territory for their expansion. We were never seen as people. We were tools or obstacles. Lucy raised her hand like she was in school. Ember's eyes found her in the hologram. Yes, Lucy Reed. Why didn't you just tell everyone that? We tried. Many times. But when we spoke of feelings, other species dismissed us. They said we were being irrational. When we set boundaries, they called us aggressive. When we defended ourselves, they called us monsters. Ember's wings spread in the hologram. So we stopped trying. We closed our borders and let the galaxy forget us. But you came tonight, Bryn said. Why? Curiosity. The humans are new to the council. I wanted to see what made them different. And I found my answer. Ember's gaze returned to Lucy. This child approached me without fear, without greed, without any goal, except connection. She asked if I was lonely. Do you understand how powerful that is? Nira's forearms moved in a gesture of confusion. But it was just a question. It was recognition, Ember said. She saw me as a person who could feel lonely, not as a creature to be feared or used, simply as someone who might need a friend. The hologram showed Lucy kissing Ember's nose again. This time the playback was slowed down. Everyone could see the moment when Ember's eyes changed, when something ancient and tired suddenly looked young again. The kiss was affection, Dr. Hayes said quietly. Pure, uncomplicated affection, given freely with no expectation of return. Most species don't do that. Most species calculate the cost and benefit of every interaction. My people share thoughts, Nira said slowly. We do not understand being alone. We cannot feel loneliness because we are never alone. My people value strength above all, Toral added. We do not show weakness. Admitting loneliness would be shameful. And that, Ember said, is why your peoples could never reach us. You cannot connect with someone if you cannot understand their pain. Bryn leaned on his staff. What do you propose, Great Ember? The humans understand something other species have forgotten or never learned. They lead with their hearts. They see individuals, not just categories. Ember's form grew brighter in the hologram. I propose an alliance between my people and humanity. We will open our borders to humans. We will share knowledge and space. And through humanity, we will reconnect with the Galactic Council. The room erupted. Ambassadors spoke over each other. Some protested. Others asked questions. Toral stood up, his voice cutting through the noise. This gives humans an unfair advantage. They will have access to dragon technology, dragon space, dragon protection. Yes, Ember said simply. They will, because they earned it by being kind. Lucy tugged on her father's sleeve. Dad, what's everyone so mad about? David looked at his daughter. 8 years old, missing a tooth, wearing a coat that was getting too small for her. She had just changed the entire balance of galactic power by offering friendship to someone who looked lonely. They're not mad, sweetie, David said. They're just surprised. Because I was nice? Because nice matters more than they thought it did. Ember's hologram smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The child understands. Perhaps the rest of you will learn. The meeting continued late into the night. But the outcome was already decided. The impossible had happened, and it had happened because a little girl decided to be kind. 3 days later, David and Lucy stood on the landing platform of a human transport ship. Through the windows, they could see a planet unlike anything Earth had ever discovered. Pyros, the dragon homeworld. Islands floated in the sky, held up by forces that human scientists did not understand yet. Rivers of lava flowed between them, but the lava moved upward sometimes, defying gravity. Crystal formations grew from the floating rocks, each one glowing with internal light. The sky was orange and gold, lit by a sun that burned hotter than Sol. "It's like a dream," Lucy whispered. Captain Rose stood beside them. She was older than David, her hair gray at the temples. She had served in Earth's Space Navy for 30 years and had seen many worlds. But even she looked amazed. "Readings say the atmosphere should be toxic," Rose said, checking her tablet. "But it's breathable. The temperature should cook us, but it feels pleasant. This planet shouldn't exist by our physics." "Dragon physics are different," Ember's voice said from behind them. They turned. Ember had appeared on the platform without any fire or shimmer this time. She simply stepped out of the shadows as if she had always been there. 2 other dragons stood with her, both nearly as large as Ember herself. "Welcome to Pyros," Ember said. "Home of my people for 10 million years." Lucy ran to Ember and hugged her leg. The dragon made a sound like a purr, deep and rumbling. David still found it strange to see his daughter treating a creature that could destroy starships like a family pet. "Lucy Reed, I want you to meet my council." Ember gestured with her wing. "This is Frost, eldest of our scholars, and this is Cinder, keeper of our history." Frost was blue-white instead of red-orange. His scales looked like ice and cold air drifted from his body. Cinder was smaller than Ember, but covered in black scales that seemed to absorb light. Both dragons studied the humans carefully. "A human child," Frost said. His voice was higher than Ember's, but still deep compared to human voices. "The one who showed kindness." "She's very small," Cinder observed. "Are all human young this small?" "I'm not that small," Lucy said, exactly as she had told Toril days ago. Cinder's eyes widened. Then he laughed, a sound like rocks tumbling down a mountain. "She has spirit. I like that." More dragons appeared around the platform. Some flew down from the floating islands. Others walked out from caves in the rock. Soon 20 dragons surrounded the landing platform. David felt his heart race, but he forced himself to stay calm. Lucy showed no fear at all. An ambassador shuttle landed nearby. Toril and Nira emerged, along with several other council representatives. They had insisted on coming, though Ember had made it clear this meeting was primarily for humans. Toril approached slowly, his body language showing submission. "Great Ember, we thank you for allowing us to visit your world." "You are here as observers," Ember said. "The alliance is between my people and humanity. You may watch and learn." Nira's purple eyes looked around at all the dragons. "There are so many of you. We thought your species was small in number." "You thought we were endangered," Frost said. "Another miscalculation. We are few compared to your billions, but we are not weak. We simply value quality over quantity." Ember led them to a large cave opening. Inside, the walls were covered in carvings. Images of dragons flying through space, dragons building cities, dragons fighting against creatures that looked like machines. "This is our history," Ember explained. 5,000 years ago, we were part of the galactic community. We shared our knowledge freely. We believed other species would treat us as equals. The carvings showed dragons working alongside other aliens. Then they showed battles. Dragons being captured. Dragons in chains. Dragons fighting for their freedom. "We were hunted," Cinder said. His voice was heavy with old pain. "Our fire was valuable. Our scales could be made into armor. Our young were stolen and trained as weapons. We tried to make peace, but every species we met eventually betrayed us." Lucy looked at the carvings. One showed a small dragon, maybe a child, trapped in a cage. She touched the image gently. "That's horrible," she said. "Yes," Ember agreed. "So we withdrew. We hid our world behind defenses that your species called dragon territory. We destroyed any ship that entered without permission, because we learned that mercy was seen as weakness." David stepped forward. How many species tried to make real peace with you? Define real peace, Imfrost said. Peace without wanting something from you. Peace as equals. The dragons looked at each other. Finally, Ember answered. None. Every species that contacted us wanted access to our technology, our fire, our space, or our service. Even those who claimed to want friendship always had an underlying goal. Until Lucy, David said quietly. Until Lucy, Ember confirmed. She lowered her head to look at the little girl. When she approached me, I read her intent. It is something all dragons can do. We sense the truth behind words. Every emotion, every hidden thought, every secret desire. That must be useful in negotiations, Toril said. It is a curse in most cases, Ember replied, because we always know when others lie. We always feel their greed, their fear, their plans to use us. Do you know how exhausting it is to meet someone new and instantly know they see you as a tool? Nira's forearms moved in a thinking gesture. But you could not sense deception in the human child. I sensed something much better, Ember said. I sensed genuine curiosity, authentic compassion. When she asked if I was lonely, she truly wanted to know. When she called me pretty, she meant it. When she kissed me, it was pure affection with no expectation of anything in return. Frost moved closer to David. Your species is young. You have been in space for less than a century. You have not yet learned to hide your hearts behind walls of calculation. Some of us have, David admitted. We have politicians and business people who think like other species. They calculate costs and benefits. But you also have people like Lucy, Cinder said. People who lead with emotion. Who see beings instead of opportunities. That is rare in the galaxy. Ember spread her wings. Come, I want to show you something. They followed her through the cave and out the other side. What they saw made everyone stop. A city stretched before them, built on and between the floating islands. Buildings made of crystal and metal rose toward the sky. Dragons flew between them, some carrying things, others simply enjoying flight. Young dragons played in the air, chasing each other and breathing small bursts of fire. This is our capital, Ember said. No other species has seen it in 500 years. You see it now because of trust. Trust that was earned by a child's kindness. Lucy grabbed her father's hand. Dad, can I come back here? Can I visit Ember and play with the young dragons? Before David could answer, Ember spoke. Yes, you will always be welcome here, Lucy Reed, you and your people. Because you showed us something we had forgotten. What's that? Lucy asked. That connection is still possible. That there are still beings in the galaxy capable of seeing us as friends instead of tools. Ember's eyes swept across the assembled group. Humanity will be our bridge back to the galaxy. Through you, we will try again to make peace with other species. But this time we will do it on our terms. Toril bowed his head. What are your terms? Respect, recognition, and the understanding that we will never be controlled or used again. Ember's voice grew harder. Any species that wishes to access dragon space or dragon knowledge must go through humanity first, and humanity will judge whether those species are ready. The weight of those words settled on everyone. David realized what had just happened. Humanity had become the most powerful species in the galaxy, not through weapons or conquest, but through an 8-year-old girl being kind. That's a lot of responsibility, Captain Rose said. Yes, Ember agreed. Can your species handle it? David looked at Lucy, who was waving at a young dragon flying past. He thought about humanity's history, both the good and the bad. Then he looked back at Ember. We'll try our best, he said. We'll make mistakes, but we'll try. Ember's eyes glowed brighter. That is all we ask, because trying with an honest heart is more than anyone else has offered us in 5,000 years. The Dragon Council chamber was carved from a single massive crystal. 5 ancient dragons sat in a circle, their bodies radiating different colors of heat. Ember sat in the center, her red-orange glow mixing with the others. David, Lucy, and the ambassador delegation stood in the middle, surrounded by creatures that had existed for thousands of years. Lucy held her father's hand tightly. Even she seemed to understand this was important. The eldest dragon spoke first. His name was Ancient, and he looked it. His scales were dull gray, and parts of his wings were torn from old battles, but his eyes were sharp and intelligent. We have debated for 3 days, Ancient said. His voice sounded like wind through caves. The question before us is simple. Do we trust humanity enough to make them our partners? Partners? Toril shifted nervously. He stood with the other council ambassadors at the edge of the circle. You said allies. Partners implies something deeper. Partners is the correct word, said a dragon whose scales shifted colors like oil on water. Her name was Shimmer. An alliance can be broken easily. A partnership requires commitment from both sides. Frost, the blue-white dragon, turned his attention to David. Ambassador Reed, your species has been in the galactic community for only 5 years. You do not have the strongest military. You do not have the most advanced technology. You do not even have the largest population. Why should we choose you? David had prepared for this question. He had written speeches, practiced answers, consulted with Earth's best diplomats. But standing in this crystal chamber surrounded by beings who could read his emotions, he knew prepared words would not work. We're not the strongest or the smartest, David said honestly, but we try to understand. We try to connect. My daughter saw you as people who might be lonely, not as weapons or obstacles, just as people. One child's kindness is not enough to base a partnership on, Ancient said. What happens when Lucy grows up? What happens when your species learns the same cynical lessons every other species has learned? Lucy tugged on David's sleeve. Can I say something? David nodded. Lucy stepped forward, looking very small compared to the massive dragons. I won't stop being kind when I grow up, Lucy said. My mom and dad taught me to care about people's feelings. All people, even if they're different from me. That's not something I'll forget, Shimmer's eyes softened. But will your people remember? Species change. They become hard. They learn to put profit before people. Some humans are already like that, Lucy admitted, but lots of humans aren't. My teacher, Mrs. Patterson, she always makes sure nobody feels left out. And my neighbor, old Mr. Chen, he feeds the stray cats even though they're not his cats. And my friend Arya's dad, he's a doctor who helps people even when they can't pay. She looked around at all the dragons. Humans aren't perfect, but we try to be good. Isn't trying what matters? The dragons were quiet. Then Ancient made a sound that might have been a laugh. She argues like one of our young ones, he said, all heart and hope. Ember stood and walked to Lucy. The child speaks truth. I have observed humanity for the past 3 days through your networks. I have seen your stories, your art, your history. You are a violent species sometimes, but you are also a species that loves, that creates, that questions yourselves constantly trying to be better. Cinder, the black dragon, spoke up. I have studied the proposal. If we partner with humanity, other species will be angry. They will say we are showing favoritism. They will accuse humans of manipulating us. Let them accuse, Ember said firmly. We choose our partners based on character, not on military strength or political power. That is our right. Nira stepped forward from the observer group. Her forearms were held in a gesture of respect. Great dragons, may I speak? Ancient nodded permission. My people have been analyzing the past 3 days, Nira said. We share thoughts across our entire species. We have been discussing what happened at the reception, and we have reached a conclusion. She paused. We were wrong. Terrell's scales rippled with surprise. Admission of error was not common in galactic politics. We approached you as a problem to solve, Nira continued. We calculated risks and benefits. We never once considered how you might feel. The humans did what we could not. They saw you as individuals with emotions. This is a skill we lack. Toril stepped forward as well. My people value strength. We saw you as either threats or potential allies in war. We never asked what you wanted for yourselves. His tail dragged on the ground, a sign of humility. The small human asked you what you wanted. That is a question we should have asked 500 years ago. Ancient looked at both ambassadors with interest. You admit your failures? We must, Nira said. Because we want to learn from humanity's success. If they can bridge the gap between our species and yours, perhaps we can learn to bridge other gaps as well. Shimmer's scales swirled with colors. This is unexpected. Other species are willing to learn? Some of us are, Terrell said. Others will resist. But change must start somewhere. Ember looked at David. What do you think of this, Ambassador Reed? Other species want to learn from you. That is a burden, David thought carefully. It's only a burden if we try to do it alone. Maybe the partnership shouldn't be just between dragons and humans. Maybe it should include everyone who's willing to approach things differently. An interesting thought, Ancient said. But the core partnership must be between dragons and humans. You have earned our trust in a way no one else has. Frost moved closer to Lucy. There is one more thing we must discuss. A proposal from Ember that the Council has debated extensively. What proposal? David asked. Ember lowered her head to Lucy's level. I wish to offer Lucy Reed the position of First Friend. It is an old title from our history, from before we withdrew from the galaxy. A First Friend is a diplomat but also family. They live part of their time with us, learning our ways, representing our interests. In return, we teach them our knowledge and protect them as our own. David's chest tightened. You want Lucy to live here? She's 8 years old. Not permanently, Ember clarified. Perhaps a few months each year. With your permission, of course. She would attend school on Earth but spend her breaks here, learning, growing, helping us reconnect with the galaxy. Lucy's eyes went wide. I could really do that? I could learn from the dragons? If your parents allow it, Ancient said. The role is not without danger. Many species will not like humanity's special position. Some may target a child to show their displeasure. We would protect her with our lives, Ember said quickly. No harm would come to her while she is under our care. David looked at his daughter. She was so young. This was too much responsibility for a child. But he also knew Lucy. She had walked up to a dragon without fear. She had shown kindness when everyone else showed fear. She had changed the galaxy in 3 days. Can I talk to my wife first? David asked. This is a family decision. Of course, Ember said. Take all the time you need. But know this, Lucy Reed. Whether you accept the role of First Friend or not, you will always be welcome here. You gave us back hope. That is a gift we can never fully repay. Lucy let go of her father's hand and walked right up to Ember. She put both hands on the dragon's snout. I want to do it, she said. I want to help. But I want to make sure my mom and dad are okay with it first. That is wise, Shimmer said. Consulting with family shows maturity. Ancient stood, his old body creaking. Then we will wait for your answer. In the meantime, the Dragon Council officially proposes a partnership with humanity. We will open 3 sectors of space to human exploration. We will share knowledge of technology, history, and science. We will defend human colonies within our territory. In return, humanity will serve as our representatives to the Galactic Council. They will speak for us in matters of diplomacy, and they will help us determine which other species are ready to interact with dragons. The weight of that fell on everyone. Captain Rose stepped forward. That makes humanity the gatekeepers to dragon space. Other species will have to go through us. Yes, Ancient said simply. Is that a problem? Rose looked at David, then at Lucy, then back at the dragons. It's a huge responsibility, but after seeing what Lucy did, maybe we're ready for it. Toril made a gesture of agreement. My people will support this partnership. We will work with humanity to improve our own diplomatic approaches. Nira's forearms moved in a pattern of acceptance. My people will also support this. We have much to learn from both humans and dragons. One by one, the other ambassadors spoke their support. Some were enthusiastic. Others were cautious, but none opposed it. Lucy tugged on Ember's wing. Can I see the young dragons play again before we go? Ember's eyes glowed warmly. Of course. They have been asking about you. The human child who was not afraid. As Lucy ran off with several young dragons flying overhead, David watched his daughter laugh. The fate of galactic diplomacy had just been changed by an 8-year-old girl. And somehow that felt exactly right. 6 months had passed since the night Lucy kissed a dragon. David stood in the observation deck of the Galactic Council Station, watching ships come and go. So much had changed. The galaxy looked different now. It felt different. Lucy appeared beside him, wearing a jacket that had dragon scales embroidered on the back, real dragon scales given to her by Ember as a gift. She was taller now, her missing tooth grown in. She carried a tablet with her homework on it, but also notes from her dragon language lessons. Ambassador Chen wants to meet with you, Lucy said. He has questions about the trade route through dragon space. David smiled. His 8-year-old daughter was casually talking about ambassadors and trade routes. She spent 3 months on Earth attending regular school, then 3 months on Pyros learning from the dragons. She had friends in both places. She was somehow handling it all beautifully. Tell Ambassador Chen I'll meet him in an hour, David said. Lucy typed a message on her tablet. Somewhere on the station, an ambassador from Mars Colony would receive it. This was normal now. Lucy Reed, age 9, was officially recognized as First Friend by the Dragon Council. She had diplomatic authority. Other ambassadors took her seriously. The door opened and Toril entered. His scales were brighter than they had been 6 months ago. He moved with less tension in his body. Ambassador Reed, Lucy, Toril greeted them. I wanted to share some news. My government has implemented new training for our diplomats. We are learning to consider emotional factors in negotiations, not just strategic ones. That's great, Lucy said. How's it going? Toril's mouth opened in what David now recognized as a genuine smile, not just a threat display. Difficult. My people are not naturally empathetic, but we are trying. We have had some success. We recently made peace with a neighboring species we have been in conflict with for 50 years. We asked them what they wanted instead of assuming we knew. And it worked? David asked. It worked, Toril confirmed. The concept seems obvious now, but it was not obvious to us before. Nira entered next, her forearms carrying datapads. I have the latest reports from the Council. 23 species have now applied for access to Dragon space through human channels. 12 have been approved. 8 are still under review. 3 were denied. Why were they denied? Lucy asked. They approached the application with only profit in mind, Nira explained. They had no interest in understanding dragon culture. They only wanted access to resources. Her purple eyes looked at Lucy. You recommended denial. The Dragon Council agreed with your assessment. Lucy nodded seriously. They didn't want to be friends. They just wanted to use Ember and her people. You read them correctly, Nira said. My people are learning from you as well. We have begun to study individual emotional needs within our collective. It is strange for us, but valuable. Admiral Grant arrived, his military uniform crisp and formal. He had been promoted to oversee the joint human-dragon defense initiatives. He nodded to everyone and pulled up a hologram showing a star map. I wanted to brief everyone on the situation at the rim, Grant said. The hologram showed the edge of known space where stars became sparse. The dragons have shared information about threats beyond our borders. Things they've been protecting us from for centuries. David leaned forward. What kind of threats? Automated war machines from a dead civilization, Grant said. They're still active, still aggressive. The dragons have been fighting them for 3,000 years, keeping them from entering our space. And nobody knew? Toril's scales darkened with concern. The dragons never told anyone because no one asked, Grant explained. They protected the galaxy while the galaxy treated them as monsters. Lucy looked at the hologram. Are we helping them now? We are, Grant confirmed. Human ships are joining dragon patrols at the rim. We're coordinating defense grids. For the first time in millennia, the dragons aren't fighting alone. The door opened one more time. Ember walked through, having to duck her head to fit. Behind her came Frost and a younger dragon named Spark, who was training to be a diplomat. Spark was only 300 years old, barely an adult by dragon standards. I hope we are not late, Ember said. Spark needed additional coaching on proper greeting protocols. Spark's red scales flushed darker with embarrassment. Human customs are complex. So many rules about physical contact. You're doing fine, Lucy assured him. You only set off the fire alarm twice this week. Everyone laughed, even Spark. The young dragon had become a regular presence on the council station. He was the first dragon to live among other species in 5 centuries. It was not always smooth, but he was trying. Ember looked around the room. This is what I had hoped for. Dragons and other species working together, learning from each other. It took 5,000 years, but we are here now. Because of Lucy, David said. Because of kindness, Ember corrected. Lucy showed it first, but others have learned to show it too. Ambassador Toril, you have changed significantly. Toril bowed his head. I am trying to see the galaxy through new eyes. It is not easy for my people, but it is necessary. A young human woman entered carrying coffee for David. Her name was Sarah, and she was David's assistant. She had been studying dragon culture intensively, and could now speak 3 dragon dialects. The morning briefing is ready, Sarah said. We have requests from 4 more species wanting to establish embassies on Pyros. Also, the education exchange program has 200 new applicants. Human children wanting to study with dragons and young dragons wanting to study on Earth. Lucy perked up. Really, more kids want to come to Pyros? Your video messages have been very effective, Sarah said. Children see you playing with young dragons and learning their history. They want the same opportunity. Ember's eyes glowed warmly. We welcome them. Our young ones need friends from other species. They need to learn that not all aliens are threats. Over the next hour, they discussed logistics, trade agreements, defense coordination. cultural exchanges, educational programs. The galaxy was becoming more connected, and humanity was at the center of it all, not through conquest but through friendship. Finally, the meeting ended. Most people left, but Lucy stayed behind with Ember. David watched them together. His daughter, so small next to the massive dragon. But the size difference did not matter. They were friends, Ember, Lucy said quietly. Are you still lonely sometimes? The dragon was silent for a moment. Sometimes, she admitted. 5,000 years of isolation do not disappear in 6 months. But I am less lonely now, much less. Good, Lucy said. She hugged Ember's leg. You'll never be alone again. I promise. Ember lowered her head and gently touched her snout to Lucy's forehead. And you helped me believe that connection was still possible. You showed me that there are still beings in this galaxy worth trusting. David's communication device beeped. A message from Earth from his wife, Lucy's mother. She was returning from Mars next week. She wanted to hear all about the latest developments. He thought about everything that had happened. 6 months ago, his biggest worry was whether Lucy would behave at a diplomatic reception. Now she was changing the galaxy. She had turned humanity into the most influential species in the Council. She had reopened dragon space. She had inspired other species to rethink how they approach diplomacy, all because she had been kind. Dad, Lucy called. Ember's going to take me flying. Want to come? David looked at the massive dragon and his small daughter. 6 months ago, the idea would have terrified him. Now it just seemed normal. Sure, he said. Why not? They made their way to the launch bay. Other species stopped to watch as a dragon, a human diplomat, and a 9-year-old girl walked together. Some bowed. Others simply stared in wonder. Outside, Ember spread her wings. Lucy climbed onto the dragon's back with practiced ease. David followed more carefully. Spark flew up beside them and Frost appeared from above. They launched into space, leaving the station behind. The galaxy spread out around them, vast and full of possibilities. Lucy laughed as Ember did a roll, the stars spinning around them. David held on tight and smiled. His daughter had kissed a dragon and changed everything. She had shown the galaxy that kindness mattered more than strength. That understanding mattered more than power. That seeing someone as a person, rather than a tool or a threat, could accomplish what armies could not. Below them, ships from dozens of species traveled through space that had been closed for centuries. Dragon space was open now, not because of threats or negotiations, but because a child had asked if someone was lonely. Faster! Lucy shouted, and Ember obliged, diving through a cloud of space dust that sparkled like diamonds. David watched his daughter, fearless and free, riding a dragon through the stars, and he realized that sometimes the most powerful thing in the galaxy was not a weapon or a strategy. Sometimes it was just a small girl who decided to be kind to someone who looked sad. The galaxy was learning that lesson now. Species that had been enemies for centuries were finding common ground. Diplomats who had never considered emotions were learning to ask, "How do you feel?" Wars were being prevented because people finally understood each other. All because one child had looked at the deadliest creature in the galaxy and seen not a monster but a person who might need a friend. Ember turned back toward the station, the flight complete. Lucy was still smiling, her hair wild from the wind. She waved at passing ships and some of them waved back. Best day ever, Lucy declared. Ember's rumbling laugh filled the space around them. Every day with you is best day, Lucy Reed. And in that moment, flying through the stars with a dragon and his daughter, David understood something important. The galaxy did not need more weapons or stronger shields. It needed more people like Lucy. People who led with their hearts. People who saw possibilities instead of limitations. Humanity had given the galaxy many things: technology, art, ideas. But the greatest gift they had given was simple: the reminder that kindness mattered, that connection was possible, that even the deadliest dragon in the galaxy just wanted someone to ask if she was lonely. The station grew larger as they approached. Soon they would land and return to the work of diplomacy. There would be meetings and negotiations and complicated decisions. But for now they flew together, human and dragon, proof that impossible friendships could change everything. Lucy looked back at her father and grinned. Same time tomorrow? David nodded. Same time tomorrow. Because in this new galaxy, a galaxy connected by understanding instead of divided by fear, tomorrow held possibilities that no one had dreamed of just 6 months ago. And it had all started with a kiss.